This research was part of the SMART project funded by the IOC to investigate athletes' values, value priorities, and ways they manage potential value conflicts in their daily lives, to inform values-based anti-doping education. Values-based education was introduced to the anti-doping community at the first Global Anti-Doping Education Conference in 2015. 6 years later, the World Anti-Doping Agency's International Standard for Education was implemented in 2021. With this, values-based education became a mandatory element of anti-doping education programs. Despite its importance, it is less understood how personal values of adult athletes, at the pinnacle of their athletic career, operate in sport context. To address this question, we used criterion-based purposeful sampling to recruit a culturally representative sample of 60 elite athletes. 37 identified as male and 23 identified as female. Their age was between 17 and 48 years. At the time of data collection, the participants were either active athletes or had recently retired from competitive sport. Participants were from 13 different countries. They represented 27 sports. Focus group discussions with international elite athletes produced rich data on athletes' values, value priorities, and ways in which values impact their daily lives and decisions. The themes identified in the data were centered around values in relation to athletes' lives, athletic career, performance and performance enhancement, goals and success. The three major themes we identified were as follows. 1. Value consciousness and clarity. 2. Intrapersonal value continuity. And 3. Value conflict and management. Reflections on doping, other forms of cheating and just clever play were present in all three themes. The degrees to which athletes think about their values has implications for their behavior in sport. Value consciousness and clarity was interpreted as a disposition that came with age and maturity. Athletes agreed that high level of value consciousness and clarity was facilitated by the coach and construed as protective against cheating and doping. Yet, athletes offered multiple understandings of what the very concept of a value was. A second theme was the experience of intrapersonal value continuity, whereby participants considered what it looks like and what it takes for an athlete to act in a manner that was coherent and consistent with their values. An underlying premise of this theme was the experience of a single coherent self, with a single set of values that consistently guided them over time and across contexts. Hence, values inside and outside of sport were one of the same thing. Making sense of one's values in relation to specific past or future sport scenarios was not as straightforward as the first two themes would lead us to believe. When faced with a particular scenario, a conflict between values could occur. That is, different values guide behavior in different and sometimes opposing ways for the same athlete. Participants also experienced a conflict between the behavior needed to meet the situational demands and the behavior needed to fulfill one's values. Athletes had to find ways of managing this dilemma to reduce conflicts and feelings of dissonance. From the focus group data, it is apparent that the ways values operate in athletes' decisions are not only complex but also flexible and dynamic, which creates a state of vulnerability that is both personal and capricious. To inform values-based anti-doping education, we must have a clear concept and agreed definition of what we mean by values, how to address changes in value priorities, and what is the best educational approach to empower athletes to make sense of their values, motives, motivations, and goals in situational contexts. We found that athletes cannot easily verbalize and operationalize the values they hold. Therefore, anti-doping education must incorporate activities that facilitate conceptually sound conversations and provide athletes with time to unpack the behavioral meaning of their values. Developing an athlete's ability through conscious sense-making activities to anticipate the pain of a value transgression and the value of value fulfillment is key to this process. To conclude, athletes' values as guiding principles formed by early encounters and close relationships in which coaches plays a crucial role. Athletes' values are stable but value priorities are highly personal and contextual. Value conflicts are common and normal, and managed by sense-making activities such as value prioritization or value bracket creep. Therefore, values-based anti-doping education must acknowledge and work with the complex relationship between values and behavior. The WADA International Standard for Education mandates a values-based component in all anti-doping education programs, ideally at all levels along the athlete pathway. The complexity of the ways in which values operate in decision-making has become evident in our study, which underscores the need for trained and skilled educators. Equally importantly, our study left no doubt that the desired format for values-based education is not self-directed independent study, nor didactic lectures about values. Instead, open, honest and expertly guided discussions are needed, where athletes can explore, reaffirm and challenge their personal values and positions with regard to clean sport, integrity and the spirit of sport. The research we presented was a collaborative effort of 10 researchers and 60 elite athletes from 13 countries who generously shared their thoughts with us.